How do you find logo design inspiration? My name is Michelle, and I'm going to give you a sneak peek into my process when creating logos. If you're ready to be inspired, hit that like button and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. I release weekly videos on web design, marketing, and content creation strategies. The first thing I want to say is that this video is really meant for two types of people. The first type of person I would say is probably the entrepreneur who is wanting to start a business and is in need of a logo. Now, chances are they're probably going to hire somebody to make that logo for them. But I always say it's best practice to know what you want before you get to the designer. So you should have a few ideas in the back of your mind before you just show up and say, hey, I need a logo. So that's where this research phase will be really crucial for you to start helping you develop what you want in your brand identity. And the second type of person that this video is going to be good for is, designers. If you have ever gotten stuck and you need a little bit of extra inspiration, then I will show you some of the tools that I use to get ideas flowing. Let's get started with some websites that I use to find inspiration. First up, let's get started by talking about Pinterest. I love Pinterest because it is literally a visual search engine. So you can just type something in and you can get a ton of results. So right off the bat, I've typed logo design and you can see that there is a ton of different logo designs from all kinds of different people just showing up in the search. So this is a really good way to sort of get ideas flowing. Now, these are all general. You can get pretty specific with it. So let's say I was going to do something around pets and maybe I wanted a dog logo design. I could type dog logo design, and then I've got a bunch of new options that have just popped up of different things with paws and dogs and different shapes. And so this is just a really great way to sort of see what's out there. Now, I do want to say the goal here is not to steal any design. You never want to steal a design. Obviously, you want to be able to create something on your own. But by looking at other things and seeing what's out there, it often will spark something inside yourself where you say, oh, that's really cool. But what if we did this? That's more the direction you want to go. This is just inspiration. You're trying to generate ideas, not to take them from someone else. Plus, we all like to think of ourselves as original thinkers, but more often than not, somebody else has already had the same idea that we have. And you want to make sure that whatever you are going to create doesn't already exist out there somewhere, because we are not copycats. The other thing I want to say about Pinterest is that you can save these pens to boards that you create, so you can always come back and find them later, which I love. That always allows you to just keep a stockpile of designs that inspire you. So let's move on to the next site that I love for inspiration, and that is logopond.com. Now, I've been going to this site for years, actually, and I just think that there's a lot of designs here that are pretty clever. There's a lot of like morphing of concepts, if you will. So for example, this one, Cheese King, you can kind of see that he has like a crown and it's a piece of cheese and he's got a mustache. There's just a lot of clever ideas of how they've morphed different concepts together. And so I really love seeing that. You can get specific with these as well. So if I wanted to click over here and search for dogs, then I've got a whole bunch of new options for dog logos that I can use to generate ideas with. So just something fun. Sometimes the logos are a little more complex than I think. Like this logo, for example, like it's a cool concept maybe, but it's not something that I would actually use as a logo design. So this is really just high level inspiration stuff for me, just to see different styles of how people are creating, different colors, those types of things. Let's move on to the third website, which is thenounproject.com. If you're not familiar with this is great for icons, and they've just started including photos. So if you're in the market for stock photography, you could use this as well. I love this because I love seeing how other people visualize different concepts. So for example, if we're going to stick with the same thing and let's just type in dogs, you'll see a bunch of different icons that pop up. And it's just different shapes, it's different styles. It's a really kind of fun way to see how other people make an icon for the word dog. This is also a great way to sort of start thinking about the different styles that you want to use. So with logos, oftentimes there is a visual mark and a word mark that are put together to create the entire logo. So if you're looking for more of that one-off simplified icon, Noun Project is like a really awesome way to just see how you could potentially create something with line art. None of the icons are too complex, which is really great, and I think that makes for a good logo. Moving on to my fourth site, let's go to designspiration.com. Now, this site has design of all aspects that you can search for, not just logos, but if you wanted to, you could type in logo design and we can see what pops up. So we've got a ton of different options to sort of look at and just use them to stimulate some creative ideas. If I wanted to get more specific, I could type in dog logo design and see what pops up then. And then I've got a few more options related to what I'm looking for. So really, how you search for things is really important. The key terms that you're using. So you can be very generalized, but if you are, a real estate agent and you're looking to create a logo, then obviously you're going to want to type in something that is related to real estate or realtor or houses, things of that nature, and that will give you a lot more specific design ideas to go off of. And the final site that I'm going to look at is good old Google Images. So this is also another great way. If you just search for logo design and you type the images tab, you're going to get a ton of search results of all kinds of logos. Now we can get more specific with this, obviously, but this will also give you a really good idea of what actually exists out there. A lot of times those like logo ponds, they're not really actual logos or brands. It's just more sort of like ideas and inspiration that artists submit. So a lot of them don't actually exist, but you're going to get a lot more accurate information from Google just to see like what actually exists out there, like Nike, Target, Apple. You're seeing a lot more high level popular brands. Not to say that some of them aren't designs that you could purchase. I mean, this is pulling up Etsy results. So apparently you could purchase these designs and customize it to your own liking if that was something that you wanted to do. Always an option. Let's type in dog logo design and see what pops up. And now we have a lot more design options that are related to our topic that we're searching for. So these are all great ways to get inspired. I want to show you one other technique that you could do if you wanted to work off of a photo. So maybe you saw something, you're like, oh, I really like this photo. How do I turn it into a design? Let's take a look and see how that might be done. I am going to show you a fun technique that you could use if you were really inspired by a photo and you wanted to turn it into a graphic image that you could use as part of your logo. So I found this image on Google. Relax, I'm not stealing it. I'm just using it as inspiration. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to adjust the colors and the levels on this photo. So I would go over to my layers, and now that I'm at my layers, I already have the one that I ended up with, but I'll show you what I did. So I start here. I like to turn it to a smart object in case I want to come back and change things. I go up to the filter menu and then I click on camera raw filter, and it brings up a bunch of settings that I can use. So the first thing that I want to do is turn the saturation absolutely all the way down. That's going to limit the color palette so that I can just really work with black and whites. I would like to bump the contrast way up. I'll probably move the highlights down a little bit. That's going to make it a little more intense. You could mess with whatever you think, you want to. If you want to adjust the black levels, if you want to, clarity is going to make it a lot sharper. So we could adjust those to our liking. It's not going to matter so much, but then I will come down and I'll hit OK. And so now we've got a photo that we can use. I will say that I'm using Photoshop and Illustrator, so this is really for my design peeps out there. I would save this image and then I'm going to move over to Illustrator. So let's see how far off. This is the one that I ended up with. This is a little slightly different, but not too much. So let's pop over to Illustrator. So I've placed my photo on just a canvas. I have several artboards up, so as I take you through my process, you can kind of see how I refine this. The first thing I want to do is click on the photo, and then I want to use the image trace. So I would click on this, click my photo to activate that. I like to check the preview, and it's going to give us, you're like, oh, what's going on? I also like to hit ignore white just so that we're only working with the black shapes. And then you've got your threshold, you've got paths, corner, and noise. You're going to adjust these things until you feel like it's something that you can work with. So remember, we're just kind of getting inspiration. The more I push it down, the less I can see of it. The more I push it up, the more that I can see. And then we're starting to get a shape that maybe I can work with. So I'm thinking somewhere in this realm is what we'll do. The paths, you can keep adjusting these. Sometimes they do a little bit, sometimes they don't do too much. So whatever it is, there is no like perfect setting. Just use whatever you think is something that you will find workable. So the next thing I would do is I would expand this shape, and now I have a shape that I can work with. So I'm going to show you where I ended up. So it's pretty close. Once you've expanded it, that's when you're going to start to refine this shape. So a lot of times when I'm refining something, I like to use the pencil tool. It's the letter N if you're looking for a quick key. And then I like to sort of draw things to smooth them out. There is a smooth tool. If you come over to the tool palette and you hit the little drop down, you can see that there is a smooth tool option. You can do that too. I think if I'm more in the mode of drawing something, I'm going to use the pencil first, and then I could always come back later and smooth things out. But if I start to draw along these edges, you'll see that the points are reduced a lot. And so I'm getting this smoother shape. So I would just continue to refine this down. And then I might notice something here where this shape is connected, and maybe I want that shape to be independent. So I would probably come over to my knife tool, and I just like to draw through that. And all that did was like, it put a split in there. So this becomes its own shape. I can then again take the pencil tool, just hit the letter N there, and then I can start to draw the mouth a little bit. And so now you can kind of see where we're just embellishing on the shape that it already gave us. And we're making it our own, basically. We used the photo as reference, but now we're really just sort of making this our own. Because if you ever, this is a photo of a corgi, who just, sets out and I'm going to draw a photo of a corgi. It's kind of difficult. It's kind of nice to have a place to start from. So that is really what we're doing here. If I continue, I'll show you where I ended up. You just continue to refine and draw. Just continue to draw until it gets to a place where you like it. So this is actually where I ended up. I smoothed it all out. I had the independent shape for its nose. I drew the front legs. And now I have sort of an icon I can use for a logo. So what would this look like if I turned it into a logo? Well, I just made up a company called Corgi Productions, put a couple of font choices in there. It kind of feels stout and short like a corgi. So this is how you could take a photo and incorporate it into a logo by making an icon. Just a fun little process I wanted to share with you. I've done it a couple times. I don't do it all the times, but if you're stuck in a rut and you need some extra help, this is a great option to try. Are you inspired? I hope you found this video helpful. And if there's a specific topic that you'd like to see, let me know in the comments and I might film a video on it. Don't forget to subscribe. I would really appreciate your support, and thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video.